Welcome to the March 2022 AIA Silicon Valley chapter meeting, and the last of our fully virtual COVID-19 chapter meetings. Yay! I'm really excited about that, that shift. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our March chapter meeting. We're going to have a discussion about the mission point development. John Elwood will be joining us. We have other upcoming events. Most importantly, we have AI 22. We've talked a little bit about that, upcoming in just over 4 weeks. We have 2 incredible keynote speakers. We have a full slate of speakers for this conference, and those will all be all that information is just now coming to you, so please watch out for it. Take note of all of the sessions that we have planned. There's 36 speakers, 3 conference tracks, an opening keynote speaker, Cheryl Durst, Executive Vice President, CEO of IIDA, and Dr. Eve Edelstein, FAA, Director of Design Quality, National Health Service, Guy's and St. Thomas Hospital Foundation Trust. Great keynotes. That's a mouthful. But it's going to be a fantastic conference, and we're really looking forward to sharing it with you in person. So please look for registration and sponsorship opportunities, and connect with myself or our committee, which you'll find contact information on the website if you have any questions or need.
And we have ticket bundle deals for this, correct?
We do have ticket bundle deals.
Take that to your companies and bring a whole group of people with you.
Yeah, and contact us directly for those bundled tickets. We'll manage that separately, not on the website. Okay. Sketching Together, April 16th. Anyone can attend, bring your supplies. These events are monthly, and they're now back in person. And so nice opportunity to get together with a group and do some sketching work on your skills. There's 1 learning unit for each of those sketching sessions. And Stanford Historical Society, Friday, May 13th from 8:30 to 5:30, we have the Architectural Conservation Workshops. This is an all-day program, and it's presented by Stanford. So that information is on our website. If you'd like to attend, you can log into our website on our events page and register. And Mary, I don't know that Mary is here tonight, so I will hand this off. Leah, do you want to talk about our call for Jedi content and support?
Sure. As a reminder, the Women in Architecture Committee is calling for additional Jedi content, hoping to amplify other perspectives and use the momentum and the frameworks and the energy behind that group that has been putting on really great events for the past years, to expand that focus and provide that support for event planning and social media presence and network contacts to other groups that are interested in generating content for your particular Jedi focus. So the Women in Architecture really wants to act so please reach out to, I think it's Mary, with that interest, or you can reach out to Chris if you don't have Mary's contact information, and she'll guide you in the right direction for that contact.
Yes. And with that, introducing Leah Bear, AIA and CARB, our AIA Silicon Valley chapter president, to kick off the sponsorship announcements and thank yous.
Great. Yep. Again, I'm Leah. You guys know me, I think, at this point. Nice to see you at this meeting. I'll just quickly thank our sponsors. Our premier sponsor, Earthbound Homes. Thank you so much for your continued partnership. And then our gold partners, Block Construction, Arch IT, Level 10 Construction, and Bernardo Photography. Thank you to our silver partners, AWV, presented by Greg System, Lionakis. I never know if this is CEDA or CEDA. Somebody should correct me. Do you pronounce it?
I'm not sure we know.
Okay, well,
need to clarify that for you.
If anyone knows, let me know. I'll say CEDA for now. Thank you. And CAW Architects.
Brent is joining us tonight,
Yep.
representing. Thank you, Brent.
Hey, everybody.
And again, this is our call to action to help take the lead in our upcoming events. As you heard, we are now moving to in-person after this meeting and have a lot of really great opportunities to put on both signature and chapter events this year and next year. So if you're interested in joining those committees and bringing them back online, if you have ideas for content, or if you'd like to participate in planning and communication on our Basecamp channel, please reach out to Chris, Veronica, or myself, and we will get you connected with the groups that you're most passionate about joining. It's a great opportunity to step into leadership into some committees that have a really long legacy and know what they're doing and are just looking for some fresh new faces and energy to participate.
Mm-hmm.
So you can contribute as much or as little as you feel comfortable, just looking for new voices, new perspectives to join us in planning these upcoming events.
And as we get back into in-person, those planning meetings will have a little more energy to them. we envision that events will be really ramping up, so lots of opportunities to participate. There's also going to be 2 opportunities for day of activities, and one is AI 22. We have a pretty solid group of volunteers, but of course we could always use more assistance. With that comes your conference registration, so there's some incentive to join, help volunteer. You can attend the symposium at no charge, and then with WLS you can join if you volunteer. It's not a comped ticket, but there is a discount. So with the cost of a national conference, that discount could be significant and be a real help to influence you to join and be able to participate. So that. Oops. And with that, I think the timing is impeccable because I believe that John just joined us.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, John. So I will give a brief introduction and information about our learning units and then hand it off to you, John. As Chris said, we're going to be hearing about the mission point development. I snagged this from the project website. Sorry for stealing your content, but just to give a little context of where this is and the overall scope of this large project. We will be our learning objectives for today is that we'll gain knowledge on site selection and existing restrictions that molded the building design and interrelated spaces for this project. You will learn how to examine how COVID-19 affected the design of exterior spaces between the buildings and changed our ideas of what a healthy lifestyle means. While maintaining social distancing, benefits to expand into the exterior landscape and emphasis on lake power are discussed. So I think a lot of the questions that we brought up at our previous chapter meeting, we'll get into a little bit more detail with this development, which is great. You'll also explore community outreach and engagement with the city of Santa Clara, what was learned from their priorities for access for all. And then finally, we'll be introduced to a design to increase and broaden the housing supply, create new business opportunities, and bring vitality to the area, all of which are super important. So John Elwood is the Executive Vice President of Real Estate Development. He has an overall responsibility for developing and executing the real estate strategy supporting Kylie's short and long-term business plans. John leads all of Kylie's specialized teams from land acquisitions and entitlements through to construction and leasing to ensure a smooth, efficient, and successful project delivery for the development projects. There's a long, great longer bio on John on our website. I won't spend your time getting into that full depth, but I'm sure, John, you'll give a little background and intro into who you are. So with that, I'll hand it over to you for this presentation.
Leah, let's see what, I'm going to see what if I can bring up the PowerPoint now. Okay. Can everybody see that okay?
Looks great.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Whoops, I want to go back. So maybe just a real quick additional information about me. So I made a huge career change roughly, it was actually October 2020. And my focus primarily had been in heavy commercial construction, have been in the business doing heavy commercial work for nearly 42, 43 years up until I got contacted by our CEO, Sun, who wanted me to come on board initially as a consultant to help drive this project through the process. And so anyway, long and short of it, I am now working as a developer. So it was really fantastic for me in terms of changing careers. It was like a new beginning, just graduating from college all over again. And here I am. So anyway, I hope this project will be of interest to everybody. I hope I cover some of those points that Leah had brought up earlier. And certainly if there's any questions, feel free to ask at any point. So maybe a little bit about Kylie. Kylie is a full service development organization. We retain our investments for long-term. We're headquartered here in Santa Clara, and there are 3 assets that Kylie owns. So let me see if I can, there we go. So the starting with the 225 Bush building located in San Francisco, it was our footprint in starting in the San Francisco Bay Area. Starting with 225 Bush is our iconic building and in the heart of San Francisco's financial district. And we are currently managing as well as preserving the prestigious and recognizable historic landmark. The second asset that we own, which we just completed last year, is called Burlingame Point. Some of you may remember back in the day, at least I do, when I was a kid, I used to ride my bike in this area where they used to have an old drive-in theater. Anyway, the development was just completed last year. It's roughly 800,000 square feet. It's a LEED Gold complex, and it has incredible views of the San Francisco Bay. And it has been entirely leased by Facebook. And then, of course, there's Mission Point. This evening, I'm pleased to introduce you to one of our latest developments, the Mission Point project, which is really a focus towards a neighborhood kind of feel as a mixed-use development located in Santa Clara. So to kind of give you the bearings of where we're located, we're in the heart of Silicon Valley and in the city of Santa Clara, and it's usually referred to as the North Santa Clara area or North Bayshore. And Mission Point is located 1 block to the west of Great America Parkway, with Tasman at our front door and Levi Stadium as our neighbor to the east about a quarter mile on Tasman. We're not alone, with other new developments planned currently being executed in the North Santa Clara area. Across from Levi Stadium, you probably are aware of related Santa Clara mixed-use development, a large development, 230 acres, as well as next door to them, just to the east, is the Tasman East Specific Plan. To our south is the Patrick Henry Drive Specific Plan, and to their south, continuing south, is the Mission College. So our original focus on our development when we first were looking at programming roughly 10 million square feet through our community outreach and from the scale of the development and from a number of discussions that we had from a number of community members, as well as from the limiting heights that we received from the FAA. Mission Point was basically reprogrammed to be more in line with the anticipated area, where the building heights are going to be ranging between 8 to 20 stories. I don't know if any of you have ever had experience with the FAA, but this was really kind of a fun experience when I first started with Kylie. The FAA's concern had to do with the proposed building heights blocking the radar's transmission between the radar's location at Moffett Field, supporting San Jose International and Reed Hillview airports. You can see from the location of the Moffett Field radar in relationship to San Jose International down below. For some of you that have had the experience working with the FAA, you may be familiar with this, but it took us over 2.5 years through FAA Zoom meetings, COVID-19 challenges, and agreements on deliverables that the FAA never executed. We finally had to resort to a congressional inquiry through Ro Khanna's office. Even after the initial inquiry, it took another 6 months before receiving the final determination for the building heights, which was received on August 20th last year. So we were quick in stepping into action. If you could imagine the pent-up aggression that we had in trying to move things forward. So we immediately focused on a design competition soon after receiving the FAA's response. We had interviewed 7 firms and then reduced those 7 firms down to 4 who competed in providing the 2 schemes over a 4-week period. Each firm was paid a stipend. Gensler San Francisco was selected based on their concept in creating a gateway entry into the corner of Old Ironsides and Tasman Drive for the project. So as we started working with Gensler, we started identifying some of the earlier discussions that we were having internally and some of the guiding principles that we wanted to see as part of the development. We focused on the human experience for the development based on the 4 guiding principles on interconnecting, interdependent, and interrelationship of people by being inclusive with a sustainable design marked by humanistic values and commitment to our tenants and community members' welfare. The goal of the Mission Point development was to create a vibrant neighborhood environment with its own unique community characteristics where people can walk or bike to anywhere that they may want to go, whether to work, to the park, to the cafe, even the light rail station. From the goal, we established our vision based on 5 criteria, creating a vibrant urban neighborhood, mobility that is done all on leg power, homes available to everyone, smart pathways to growth, and active parks and open space. So Mission Point is organized around an active central park or plaza interconnected by a promenade starting at the north with the Gateway Plaza. So that's that horizontal green portion that is on the upper side of the slide. The promenade continues through the development where it connects to the Creek Trail between the Calabasas Creek to the west and San Tomas Aquino Creek through Great America's Amusement Park to the east. The building components are divided into 4 clusters. 3 of the clusters in the light blue are office buildings, and the 4th located in the southwest corner of the development in the slight yellow is the housing block. The 48 acres will have all underground parking except for the central spine where the dirt will remain to allow for underground utilities. There'll be a ring road at the lower parking level to create interconnecting points between the 4 divided areas. Also anticipated for each of the building clusters, we plan on creating podium parking that will be exclusive to those tenants living and or working in those 4 building clusters. So this was really a great presentation that we received from a concept of what we're going to do with the spine, central spine, if you will, as well as looking at the various themes that were open to us. The landscape theme was to focus on a style that would connect with nature, that would be offered in early discussions of design. The concept was to engage the close proximity of the San Francisco Bay's shoreline to the development that would introduce a water concept, complemented from the rich history of Santa Clara Valley's fruit orchards. We can introduce groves of fruit throughout the development. So when you combine the 2 elements as a theme into the central spine, the water features, the hardscape designs together with fruit orchards, we could provide a setting that will connect the tenants and those visiting Mission Point by enhancing the human experience to these features. We believe we can create this unique experience with a significant commitment to parks and open space. With the connectivity between the open space and park areas within Mission Point, we also have the opportunity to make that connection outside of the Mission Point development. The arrow that's pointing downward towards the bottom left-hand corner is a connection with our central spine to the Patrick Henry Drive specific plan Central Park that continues through the development towards Mission College. And then the arrow that crosses that arrow coming downward towards the screen, running askew, running right to left, is the continuation of the creek trail that will tie the Calabasas Creek to the west eventually to the Santa Tomas Aquino Creek. So with these themes and concepts, we're looking to a number of ideas to refine the various elements that we have through the central spine with the geometry of hardscape and landscape features. This in particular will focus on the Santa Clara Valley's rich history of the fruit production through our urban tree orchards and continued groves of canopy trees offering shade throughout the development. There are also ideas to introduce water features into the central spine, usable features and not usable features as well, with the introduction of gray water that we'll be incorporating into the development. Some of the ideas that we're also looking at, and certainly this came through with a number of community meetings that we had prior to the reprogramming of the development from our discussions earlier, as well as even current discussions that are ongoing. And that is to create this gathering with engagement opportunities, from live entertainment that we've heard consistently, a farmer's market, outdoor dining, which is a must post-COVID, and then a lot of lake power, walking virtually to any point in the development, as I mentioned earlier. Other amenities will include a community room, a workshop, outdoor entertainment, a bike repair station, and a rest stop at the Creek Trail with public restrooms and vending machines. Rooftop terraces, rooftop and terrace landscape with vegetable and herb gardens, and pedestrian rest stops through the promenade. So this is a conceptual visualization, if you will, or image, looking at the Gateway Plaza, which is actually at the corner of Old Ironsides and Tasman Drive. And it's actually just adjacent to where the BTA station is located. As you continue down through the plaza, then you'll see this interconnecting bridge to allow pedestrians to make their way from one building cluster to another. And also what's interesting to see and to note is the double stacking that we have going through the spine on either side of the promenade will be lined between retail shops as well as food and beverage outlets. So this is a view of the interconnecting bridge as you enter the Gateway Plaza, with the north promenade shown below. And this is a perspective at the Central Park area. And then some other ideas, some concepts that we're still in discussions over in creating outdoor entertainment seating, for example, in these terraced seating areas. And we really do have a great opportunity to create some unique gardens and park areas, if you will, not only on the outskirts of the Central Park, but as well as in the interior portion that will have colorful grasses, perennials, etc. Certainly with the awareness of the irrigation limitations in the dry climate. This is a look towards the south end of the development with the housing block in the upper right and the third office cluster on the left. In the foreground, there's a hint of a restaurant with outdoor seating and folks just meandering through the development. This view is from the northeast corner as you start your journey from the North Promenade. There's also a hint that this may be mass timber construction. That's something that we're still looking at. We may develop the mass timber construction at the Gateway Plaza with the two buildings on the right and left, but we're still focused on having further discussions on what means of construction we're planning on going to. This is a view of the northwest corner, a closer in view, if you will, with the feel of the outdoor dining and the double stacking of retail along the food and beverage on either side of the promenade. And we've also been listening to a number of community members talking about opportunities to take advantage of the views. And here we're looking at creating roof level amenities. Everything's been discussed, from a little wine bar to a full restaurant, maybe just a meeting area, meditation area, but all concepts that are all valid and ideas that we're going to be looking at further. As far as our schedule is concerned, we made our first milestone, and that was last Friday, the 11th, March 11th, on a rezoning application. It was uploaded to the city's website. And we'll have our kickoff meeting on this coming Monday, starting with the EIR and CEQA process. We're hopeful that towards Q4 2023, we'll have a positive city council development agreement vote, and that will be my opportunity to retire. And then soon thereafter, we will prepare construction documents for permitting, and this will be the phase one of three phases that we see the development being broken into. So our hope is that sometime in the first or second quarter of 2025, we'll be breaking ground. So this is a view of the development as if it were just plotted into the 48 acres today. But the future, if you could envision in back of the development, will be the Patrick Henry specific plan as they start developing their ideas and concepts with the building heights, et cetera, and then Mission College towards the back. And that is it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, John.
It's really cool.
So we can go ahead and go into Q&A. You can either raise your hand if you have questions, or just go ahead. We don't have a large enough group that I don't think it's going to be a problem if you just want to raise your hand or go ahead and unmute and ask John a question, or you can put it in the chat. Hey, Jason.
Chris, I'll go. Yeah, hi, John. Thanks for the overview. I mean, pretty exciting project coming up. Can you talk about some of the challenges and I guess ways you're dealing with Santa Clara and how they're helping out or not helping out this time? What are you doing to kind of mitigate those things?
With respect to
entitlements?
Well, I think part of our focus has been being very open and transparent in dealing with all the city staff members. Quite frankly, we've had the opportunity to meet with some of the planning commissioners. We've had great feedback from them. Some just don't want to meet. So we're fine with that as well. We've met with Andrew Crabtree. We've met with just about everybody within the city staff, as well as the city council members. There's one city council member that refuses to meet with developers, and we're fine with that as well. But our hope is that by having the open line of communications and certainly understanding what the specifics are that the city is going to be looking at, I think Parks and Rec is probably going to be our toughest challenge, I would say, at this point, because of how they define what's open space versus public space versus private, so on and so forth. So we've had a number of discussions with them in the past, and we had successful outcomes. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Some of the images that you've seen, actually just about all of them, are all included in the rezoning application. So our hope is that things are going to move through in a way that we know that there's going to be back and forth through the rezoning application process. I would say that that's probably going to take at least 6 months before we finally settle on a direction that we think is going to be consistent where the development is going to be heading. I also think, if you think about what the area is currently entitled for is light industrial, the benefit that we're bringing is that we're bringing that mixed use concept or the mixed use component with the housing. We're going to be complementing the 12,000 housing units potentially that the Patrick Henry specific plan is going to include with our 1,800 units. So, the field, the grocery store that's going to be needed as well. That's another amenity. I failed to bring that up, but we certainly see that there's an opportunity and a need for a grocery store. We really want this to be a place where you don't have to go anyplace else to enjoy all of the creature comforts that we're always looking for, not only finding a place for a dry cleaners, but having your morning cup of coffee, maybe breakfast in the morning, lunch, dinner, so on and so forth, but also that entertainment component. So we think that this strategy that we have in creating a full community, if you will, is going to be very vital for the area. And I think it's going to be, it's going to suit for those tenants that are going to be living here and working here, as well as community members from neighboring areas that could come in and enjoy some of the amenities. They're going to be open to everybody. So I think the city wants this. I know that the city wants it, and certainly the revenue that's going to be generated is going to be another part of helping the general fund. But yeah, I think it's open communications and being completely transparent and listening to concerns and seeing how we could work with the individuals within the staff.
Any other questions?
So John, this is Steve speaking. Do you think your development will have any effect on how the 49ers play at home?
Well, actually, we were trying to schedule a time to meet with the 49ers. I decided after the first playoff that we wanted to wait till after the Super Bowl. And so I'm still waiting to get that meeting going. We do want to meet with the 49ers mainly for the opportunity to collaborate with them for parking. And the opportunity that we see that we have for providing shared parking, if you will, within the development, we think that is a great opportunity for them. It's a great opportunity for us. For us, it allows those that are going to be, going to the NFL games, for example, or even to some of the events to come to our development, park at our development, and then use the amenities. So I think it'll be a win-win for the Niners as well as for us. We won't be able to provide all the parking for the Niners, but we think that it should be a comfortable feature. I would hope anyway, that would allow the 49er fans as well as those going to the events will have a place to either do their pre-party or park and then enjoy the events.
No, you're right. That's fantastic. Because right now there's nothing out there, right? So if you go to a game, you just go to a game. There's no place to go have dinner beforehand or go have dinner afterwards. And so it will be fantastic to have a place where you can walk down and actually enjoy something before and after the game. I think it's an exciting complex.
Thank you.
I have a question that, yes, when you have games, that area will be busy, but your residential quarter is like in one corner. So what happens when you don't have a game, like in the nighttime? What's the usage of that area? Because
well, in the corner, we purposely had the residential. If you'll note it, it's kind of butting the Patrick Henry specific plan, which is all residential. It just made sense rather than putting the residential component out towards Tasman, which is going to be very busy. So, I think it really is the right solution in having the residential component in the development and having the amenities down below on the first level for those to use. Now, the other part that I didn't mention is that there's going to be some really nice amenities that are going to be a part of the apartment complex between. And actually, this was a lot of comments that we received over the years, and in particular over the last two years, with certain individuals here in the community, that a swimming pool, for example, a number of swimming pools, there'll be a barbecue located down on the ground floor where we have a park-like setting that would be privately used by those residents living there, but also up on the roof level. So we see the opportunity not only to have, from a sustainability side, we're looking at possibly LEED Gold. We're still kicking that idea around for all the buildings, but we're also looking at solar panels up on the rooftops, as well as gardens. I mentioned earlier, vegetable gardens and herb gardens and things of that nature. And even some of the members of the community mentioned that they would love to be able to grow a vegetable garden for the restaurants, for example, that are going to be located in the development. So there's going to be some opportunities there that people could really collaborate with some of the restaurant owners. So I think it's going to be a nice environment overall.
And would you be able, do you have like guidelines? So when you sell those to developers to develop those, it will kind of collaborate together and not have a separate, I mean, that is a little complex, correct?
Yeah, we're planning on developing all of it, at least at the present moment. There will be an affordable housing component as well. So we're not sure where we're going to go with that yet. There's a number of options that we could work with. We can either go with the 15% requirement. I believe it's going to go up to 20%. And then they may be staggering the percentage below average mean income, or the AMI. But we don't right now plan on, maybe subleasing the property to another developer. Right now, we're planning on doing it all.
Okay.
That could change in the future, but we're still, we're not even having those discussions. It's kind of like on the back burner, because at some point we will have to engage if we're going to go and look at possibly going even higher on affordable housing. But we still need to talk internally what direction we're going to go in.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you about your affordability levels, so you sort of answered that question for me. I see Tim has his hand up. Tim?
Yeah. Hey, question for you, John. I apologize if I missed this. With regards to the light rail line being right there, is there pretty good access to one of, I don't know the exact location of the stations, and have you talked to the light rail people about possible upgrades and maybe even like a pedestrian bridge to keep them up above traffic from Tasman to access that?
Yeah, we haven't met, at least on my watch, we haven't met with the VTA yet, but it's on my list to do. But the light rail is located, it's kind of like kitty corner from Old Ironsides and Tasman. So it's right there. There's a crosswalk. We would really have to study whether or not an overpass is going to be needed. We'll start the conversation with the VTA. One of the things that I think is noticeable, at least my office faces Tasman, so I can watch the light rail ever so often when I'm just kind of daydreaming. But it doesn't seem like there's that much in terms of folks taking the VTA right now. So we need to understand a little bit more where the VTA is and what their future plans are, and so on and so forth, so we can understand better how we could help them as well. There's been a number of conversations that we've been having with folks that, if there's a student or a professor that is going to school or teaching at Mission College, what a great opportunity to take the light rail if they live outside the area and then walk through our promenade, our paseo, if you will, through the Central Park once the Patrick Henry specific plan is developed as well, all the way to Mission College. But we see that there's an opportunity to really create some wonderful traffic for the VTA.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that was a question. And we had actually talked about that a little bit at the start of the meeting about, I think someone mentioned it, how empty Caltrain is right now. So hopefully that all will be coming back here as things open up and people see how bad traffic is and get out of their cars again.
Right.
I have a few more. I could go into questions. There's some others. Just curious about two things. One is you do have an extreme flight path, and we've dealt with that before. So are there any creative solutions being thought of to address both residential, the open space, the commercial for that?
Well, actually, we have had some discussions with some of the city council members on this issue as well, because the flight path for the residents over at Rivermark is virtually right over where they live. And then it travels, the flight path goes right over Levi Stadium. We are just to the north, I think, northwest of the flight path. So our issue was more with the radar, but still, we've talked internally about some of the architectural opportunities that we would have in the selection of building materials, for example. We could go with, U or R-rated or sound attenuation products that would have an opportunity to minimize the decibel levels, for example. We see that as something that will be a must. The other part that I think was important to say, and I missed it completely, is this whole post-COVID as well. So before I go right into that, back to your question, it really comes down to the building components that we're going to be selecting to making sure that the SDC ratings are going to be such that it's going to try, at least we're going to try and minimize the sound transmission going through the building. What then got me thinking is the post-COVID discussions that we've had with virtually all of the design teams, and starting with all 7 of them when we interviewed and then shortlisted to the 4 and then down to Gensler, San Francisco, is the post-COVID is going to be very reflective of folks in a working atmosphere wanting to, the possibility anyway, of having the option to work outdoors. So we have a lot of terraces that are going to be outdoors. So that you can't help when you hear the flight of an airliner traveling, it's going to be probably persistent. But point is that they have the opportunities, or those working as working inside these buildings will have that option of either working indoors or working outdoors. Also on all of the housing, because of post-COVID, we're looking at all of the units having outdoor balconies, and not just a short 3-footer or 4-footer. I mean, something that's going to be fairly substantial. So it's not just to go out there and have a smoke, it's to go out there and read a book, or, you know, do a Zoom meeting, for example. But anyway, the idea is that we're also looking at dividing the living space so that if you have family members that are going to be on a Zoom meeting at the same time, that you have the opportunity then to section off the living areas so that family members can have Zoom meetings going on at the same time. So a lot of consistency with everybody that we spoke to that are basically coming up with the similar, if not the identical, conclusions.
I had a question. Could you talk about, I mean, a lot of times with developer projects, and I could imagine one at this colossally large scale, how has the design evolved in relationship to determining the right mix of space types? So commercial, retail, residential, different residential types, and how that's factored into sort of you know, the goals of the developer, the goals, and how that's balanced against sort of the goals of the city, and kind of where you've landed as of today.
Well, we haven't heard back officially from the city on you know, the mixed use component specifically, as it's broken down between the 1,800 housing units, the 3,000 square feet of office, down to the 100,000 square foot of retail and food and beverage. So those discussions will start, and I would imagine here within the next week or two. But with all that said, internally, it was decided the direction that we really wanted to go in. And we felt that as a developer, and certainly the performance got a pencil out as well. So a lot of hard work went into that period of time, that through research in the market sectors that we were studying during the period of that 2.5 period of time that the FAA was still struggling with our building heights. We were doing a lot of research. We were doing a lot of internal discussions were occurring as well, as far as what the right you know, job work balance would be, and so on and so forth. And then with the future understanding of where the Patrick Henry specific plan was coming, we didn't want to oversaturate. It's kind of almost like almost impossible thing to say, and when it relates to housing, but when you have 12,000 housing units right next door, it seemed right. It was the right mix with the 1,800 units, which, you know, basically equates to about 1.8 million square feet of housing. I don't know if Brent, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Are these a mix of condos and apartments, or what's the pro forma right now?
Right now, it's all apartments. Yeah, we studied the condo market, and it's not quite there yet.
Insurance helps with that, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then actually, are these all, is it a one single parcel or multiple properties with a huge garage below?
Multiple properties. I believe 4 in total.
And those numbers you were quoting, that wasn't just phase 1, that was the total build out. The
total build out. Yeah. Okay. We're still struggling and talking through what the right phasing plan would be. And certainly I think the city is going to want to weigh in on that. They may want the housing to go first, But part of the, and think about this, if you're living, for example, in the housing component and it's the first to go, you know, I would think that at least I would like to have, you know, some of the amenities there available rather than having to look at a construction fence for the next 2 or 3 years, waiting for phase 2 to incorporate, you know, a coffee shop or something along those lines. So we're really studying the right sequence and what areas and how do we divide it. So that's a lot of work that we're going to be looking at to do probably here in the next 6 months.
Any other questions? So, Neela, go ahead.
You know, it's like, I don't even know his question, but I just wonder that there are so many offices are coming up, like Google is developing other offices everywhere. Construction is happening. And I just wonder that would you be able to have occupy all the office spaces, or like you will be attracting from outsiders, like from outside the state too? So that's kind of interesting. I mean, do you know, like, do you have some idea or forecasting about it?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's almost like a crapshoot. It would be nice if, and it would be absolutely wonderful if we had an opportunity to bring somebody in like a Google. I know that this is not one of their hubs. San Jose is a hub. We've had some discussions with Google. If there's a need for overflow from the Deer Dawn development, then certainly they may have an interest in our development. But it's just like what happened at Burlingame Point. All of a sudden, you know, it just, their Facebook appeared and they just took over the entire development, all 800,000 square feet. But what we are looking at is we want to be very flexible in the development. So one of the things that we're really studying and probably moving forward with is the opportunity to bring in life sciences into the development. That's an area that's really starting to pick up. And certainly as a result of what's been going on with the pandemic, we can see an opportunity to create higher floor to floor heights, for example. So you have the wet and dry labs that will be able to fit now within the space. And so we think that that could attract at least that market, a sector as well, when we provide that opportunity. And some of the other things we're looking at and studying and probably moving in a direction that makes a lot of sense, if you think about this as well, is that we hope that the future of single occupancy cars are not going to be the thing any longer. And here I am, I'm a car guy. But you know, the hope is that as transportation develops in a very positive way with either public transportation or autonomous vehicles, so on and so forth, there's an opportunity, for example, with the podium structure that I mentioned earlier, that we could convert that into office space or even living space, for example. And those are going to have those high floor-to-floor ceilings as well. So we're trying to build as much flexibility into the development that makes sense to us. And then hopefully it's going to make sense to somebody that has an interest where if, for example, they decide to take over one big building cluster, you couldn't ask for a better opportunity to have that entire area leased out. And the other component that I think becomes very attractive for companies, at least if I was owning a company, a big, large company, is a place for my employees to live as well, and within walking distance to the office, where you have all those amenities, all the creature comforts, if you will, that will be available to them there as well. I remember years ago when I was looking to relocate an office for a general contractor that I was working with. Their office had been there for, I think it was 20 years, but since maybe a little bit less, maybe it was 15 years. But anyway, there was nothing around, and that wasn't even having living conditions or, you know, homes nearby. But eventually, finding a place that we relocated the office eventually here in Santa Clara, but eventually it was a place where it was so perfect, where we had restaurants nearby, and the building also had a gymnasium. So when you start thinking about what employers are looking for their employees, I don't think you could find a better opportunity, whether it's in the related development, our development, that something like a mixed use, I think brings a lot of value to employers.